that business done. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Certification Advisory Committee. It's December 1st, 2020 at 9:32 a.m. So before the first order of business, because we are on this online environment, we're going to ask that Ketcher Baden facilitate this meeting because it's going to just go a lot smoother as he's got the information that we need. So Ketcher, turn it over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. So today we'll run through, well, I guess I should probably have Melissa do the roll call. Melissa, are you prepared to do the roll call, or we could also just take? Okay, so could you do that for me?
Yes. Chair Peasley?
Present.
Member Thibault? Member Farah?
Present.
Member Dembler?
Present.
Member Hendrickson? Member Janish Pinnell?
Present.
Member Tyree?
Present.
Dr. Lighting?
Present.
Member Garcia?
Present.
Member Weber?
Present.
Dr. Horn?
Present.
Dr. Corkbridge?
Present.
And Member Spear?
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Okay, so members, this meeting will probably be pretty quick, maybe even half-hour quick if I'm knocking on wood and hopefully didn't jinx it. I was talking to Chair Peasley for a little bit, because we've been meeting kind of sporadically compared to just a couple of years ago when we were meeting like every month or multiple times a month. We thought it would be a good idea to organizational things. And also we need to take care of some business like election of officers. So hopefully it will be a pretty snappy meeting and we'll get you on your way this week and not take a... So the first up is the executive director's report. Of course, if she's not here, then I give that report, and I don't have a report to give other than what I just kind of spieled gave you. Next is the call to the public, and just a reminder for, as Melissa pulls up the agenda here, so thanks, Melissa. For a call to the public in virtual settings, we have people register. We put the link on the agenda. We put it on our website, and people can register online through Zoom to speak, similar to how when they register in person, they fill out a piece of paper. We didn't have anybody register to speak at this meeting, but wanted to just clarify that there were procedures if people wanted to provide public comment. So we'll skip past number 2 and go straight to the election of the Certification Advisory Committee officers. So just as a reminder, the committee by rule is required to elect a chair and a vice chair. And the current chair is, of course, Kim Peasley, and the current vice chair is Carolyn Dumler. So how this is going to work is we'll just take nominations by voice from anybody on the committee. You can just say, I nominate so-and-so for chair and so-and-so for vice chair. And we'll just take all the nominations. And then after we're done providing nominations, we'll just do voice votes in the order that we received them. So are there any questions on the process before, or Chair Peasley, do you have anything to say before we open it up to nominations?
No, I don't have anything to add. But if there's somebody who would like to assume a position, we are not, Carolyn and I are not Velcroed to these positions. We are not, we don't have a super vested interest. So if there's somebody who would like to take on a leadership role, please feel very, very comfortable suggesting yourself. Dr. Horn?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Kimberly Peasley as chair and Carolyn Demler as vice chair.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Matt. Now, I am not sure on the format of this. So do we accept before we vote on the nomination?
No, people can just provide their nominations. And I should have mentioned this also, we don't need a second.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay,
anybody can provide a nomination and we'll just ask after we receive, well, we've received two, if anybody had any others, and then if not, then we'll just move to a voice vote of the vote.
Appreciate your service, Kimberly and Carolyn.
oh, you're quite welcome. We appreciate all the work that you do and the time that everybody puts into this, and it's just, I feel like it's an honor to be able to do this.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you. And Carolyn is a great backup.
Yes.
Are
Madam
there any
Chair,
other Go ahead.
it sounds to me like we're pretty close to consensus. I'll make a motion that nominations close and we proceed with the vote.
All right, thank you. I was just going to go there too. All right, if there's no other nominations, nominations are closed. All those in favor of the accepting the slate, the nomination slate, Kim Peasley as the chair, Carolyn Demler as the vice chair, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, then we can go on to number 4. Catch a presentation and discussion of the purpose and expectations of the Certification Advisory Committee. We have so many new members. This is, I think, an important piece for us to review our function, our purpose, and a little bit of history.
Yes, yeah. As we were talking about, you and I, Madam Chair, as we were talking about the future CAC and meetings, and as you mentioned, realize we've had some new members go through, and because we don't meet as frequently as we did a couple of years ago, wanted to make sure we touched base again on purpose of the committee, expectations of it, and the history, as you mentioned. So, and some of this is outlined in the materials we provided as well in Assembly. And the committee was established in April of 2006. So we're on 14 going on 15 years with this Certification Advisory Committee, which I think other than the Educator Discipline Committee, PPAC is probably our longest running committee at the State Board of Ed. And the rationale for it at the time was because prior to that, the board didn't have a uniform process for the development and review of board rules regarding certification. And Kim can probably give you an idea of what it was like before then. And I think Tim Carter was, I think he might have been one of the original members as well. He's not here, but prior to 2006, because there was no uniform process, it was more informal. And so board staff or department staff would kind of develop rules and then bring them straight to the board and try to develop processes and public comment and vetting informally beforehand and then through the board meeting process. Well, the board, even in 2006, but also now, usually wants things when it's provided to it in more of a completed product, a more finished product, and also wants to know that it has faith in the process that that completed and finished product was brought to it, and makes the board's life a lot easier. And for those of you who've actually served on this board before or serve on boards yourselves or local school boards, I think you can relate and appreciate where the board was in 2006 when it established the committee. So specifically what CAC is, its charge or what its goals are is to ensure greater transparency in the rule development, Ensure that all those rules have been reviewed and recommended by a single committee representative of the education community, and I'll get back to that in a second. Improves the efficiency of the rule development, provides a consistent check on the technical aspects and feasibility of the rules, and also ensures that the board is aware of the rules as they are developed, which is why it's a board committee and not a separate process, a black box that the board isn't aware of. And the membership of the committee, that representation of the education community, is the 15-member committee. It's a pretty big committee. And that's intentional to try to make sure that everybody is represented on this committee. Elementary, secondary, SPED, CTE teachers, and then all the people involved in the HR process and hiring process at the school level, principals, superintendents, or HR directors. And then as we continue to go further up the ladder, I guess, if you will, local school board members, county school soups, the charter school reps, and then higher ed, of course, because of their involvement with educator preparation. And then, as always, try to get public members, lay members on the committee as well. And on this membership specifically, I think historically the way that CAC has operated is a lot of times when things, and sometimes we mention this in passing in meetings, you are appointed for your expertise, of course, and because you fit, one of those boxes, and because you probably came recommended by somebody, maybe even somebody on the committee. But there's also a level of expectation that, when we have a rule, especially a rule proposal that is dealing with your membership area, so elementary teaching, for example, there's also somewhat of a level of expectation that you're taking that back to your folks, that you're taking that back to your colleagues. And maybe that's an association or a group. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just other people that who are also in that membership category. And I'm not picking on, I forgot who our elementary teacher on this, it might be Marisol. I'm not picking on you. That was just the first one on the bullet that I saw. So just make sure I don't burn you publicly. It's not. But there is an expectation that you're all taking it back, especially if it deals with your membership area, and vetting it with some other folks in your area. So obviously your expertise is important, but also the expertise of your colleagues in that area. And that's okay. And this kind of bleeds into our other discussion when I'll get into open meeting law in a little bit. It's okay to talk about things. Obviously, this is a public body. It's okay to talk about things that are happening here. And it's okay to share it. Of course, when we get to open meeting law, I'll talk about there's some things we got to be careful about, but share what our thinking is, share what the committee is trying to do or what the ideas are, and that helps us as we move along. So one other thing, and then I'll pause here to see if there's any discussion or questions or comments. I think there's also, I just want to clarify kind of how things get to this committee in the first place. Usually there's a few ways that it can happen, getting to CAC. Sometimes committee members request items be placed on the agenda, and we've had that before, and we've had discussions, which is another reason why having a very representative group of you is so important, because you bring issues to us for us to work on. So that's really helpful. Sometimes the department or board staff or the board identifies issues with the rules or gaps or things that we can work on, and we work on those things. Some of those special ed endorsements are a good example. That came from the superintendent of public instruction, obviously, both at the department and a board member, and asked us to work on some things. And sometimes they come from members of the public who bring, or other education organizations who might bring ideas or questions or comments or concerns, or members from the field itself. And usually if those are brought, any of those that are brought actually, department staff, Bruce and his team and myself sit down and try to, vet it a little bit, ask for some background of whoever's bringing it, if they're able to, maybe provide some survey, maybe do some legwork, and then we bring those items to you with a little more background and vetting, so that way you have a base to start from. So that is the charge, the membership, what's expected. I had mentioned earlier, excuse me, I had mentioned earlier that we're scheduled to meet once a month. When I started at the board in 2017, I think, about 3.5 years ago, we were meeting once a month. We were meeting twice or three times a month. The legislature just passed a big certification, several big certification bills, and we had to get in there and meet frequently and try to make changes. And also we had a pretty tight deadline. The legislature's tapered off. And so now we're kind of on what is probably a more normal cycle for CAC, which are things driven by those three avenues to get on the agenda, like I had mentioned before. But I think we're going to keep the monthly holds on your calendar, especially with session coming back, legislative session that is, just in case, just to see. And it's nice to make sure that we all have some historical knowledge and some we're ready to work quickly if need be. That's always a nice sell. I'll be perfectly honest, always a nice sell to both the board and the legislature that this committee can meet pretty quickly and provide advice. And as a nice way for us to try to tackle things that maybe don't need to be tackled legislative. So I will pause there and see if there's any, and actually I'll just kick it back to you, Madam Chair, our once and future chair, to see if you had anything you wanted to add or open it up, any discussion or questions or comments.
We have come a long way. It's hard to believe we're going on 16 years. It doesn't seem like that much time has passed. And we've been on this committee since the beginning. And what are your perceptions? Don't mean to put you on the spot. Oh, maybe her audio is not working. Well, there has been, we really have come a long way when we first started these meetings, and there was not an established process for seeking information, for gathering information, for reviewing from the various divisions, departments who were interested and who had a stake in a certification issue. Our meetings went from 9 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon, and we had a working lunch. Carolyn, you remember those days? Carolyn was there for those two when we were first establishing it, and we have come such a long way in terms of not only the work that we do, the vetting that we do, but there's been a lot of training and education of the community, hasn't there? Carolyn?
No, I would agree with that. I think I came in maybe 2 or 3 years after the committee began, and but yes, I remember some really long meetings, and I think another thing that I've seen over the course of the years is just a shift in how well the department staff and the state board staff has been able to work together as well. And as they've continued, I think, to collaborate more to bring us really solid information and data and recommendations. Over the years, they know more of the kinds of they can anticipate the kinds of questions that we're going to ask, and they've just really developed a way of gathering as much information and having it ready when they do present to the board, so that it becomes a more streamlined process, I think, than it was originally.
Absolutely. We've also come a long way in terms of the trust that the State Board of Education has placed in our committee. And over the years, as committee members have come and gone, and as state board members have come and gone, we've changed executive directors, support staff a couple of times now too. But we have gotten to the point where it used to be important for us to go to the chair and the vice chair to go to the State Board of Education meetings. And there were times when we were asked about the process of the committee, the decisions that we made, and we would speak before the board in those early years. And now I just ask, hey, did you think, Patrick, do you think there's a reason for for me to come to the board meeting? Going to be all right? And we haven't had to do that because that trust that the state board has in the function and the work of our committee, that they know that the information, when we send up a recommendation, they trust that we have taken this out to our constituents, that we are, and our stakeholders, that we have really done a great job of providing opportunities for inclusive participation. We not only provide the opportunities, but for the people bringing certification requests to us, that is an expectation that they bring it to us. And those of you that have been on the committee now with us as we've gone through some certifications, you've seen us send groups, presenting groups away to go back and gather more information, because we ask that important question. Have you communicated with the other members in your organization? And have you heard from all areas of the state? It's not just about being in Maricopa County or Pima County. This is about the decisions that we make affect the entire state. And so this carefully crafted committee structure of all of us, as we come from all areas of the state to represent the various divisions in education here, it's just been an important, very important process that's built up over years to where we are today. And again, I just cannot thank you enough for agreeing to be a member of this important committee and the great work that we do here. Okay, Anne, was there anything that you wanted to add down here? Unmute. Okay, all righty, thank you. I don't want to belabor that then. Thank you, everyone. So Ketcher, I think we're ready to go on to the next item. Unless anybody else has any other information.
Chair Peasley, could we do an introduction of everybody and the roles that they represent? I may have missed that in the past, but I see some familiar and unfamiliar faces here. So could we do that?
Absolutely. We certainly can do that. And I don't know how the order works on the screen, but why don't we go down the list of the committee structure? So our first member is the elementary teacher. We have not had much. Anne? She's got somebody in her office with her. Our elementary teacher is Ann Tebow, and she has been with us. She's one of the original founding members of the committee. The next member of the committee is our secondary teacher. You can introduce yourself and tell us who you are, where you work.
I'm Marisol Garcia. I'm a veteran 8th grade social studies out of the Isaac School District, but I'm also the current vice president of the Arizona Education Association.
Thank you. And we have always had the vice president of the Arizona Educator Association represented on this committee. I serve as the special education teacher, and I'm Kim Peasley. I am currently the special education director and teacher at a charter school in Prescott Valley at Pace Academy. So next is our vocational education teacher.
I'm Matt Weber. I'm the superintendent of the NAVIC Career and Technical Education District. I don't pretend to be a practicing career and tech ed teacher. It has been well over 20 years since I've been in the classroom, but I think the committee had a really tough time finding a CTE teacher that had time to dedicate to this. And so the CTED Superintendent Association was approached. And so Jack Heiss was, I believe, the original CTED superintendent on this committee. And then he asked me to approach you folks back in 2014. So I've been serving since then.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Matt. Next is our principal, and Frank isn't here, but our principal is, did Frank join us? I don't think he was able to join us today. Frank Hendrickson, Dr. Frank Hendrickson is a principal, an elementary principal in, drawing a blank catcher, is it Mesa or Chandler?
Isn't it Flagstaff?
No, that was Frank Garcia. Good
Oh,
memory.
okay. Nope, you're
Frank
right.
Garcia was an elementary principal and one of the original members in Flagstaff. And then Frank Hendrickson joined us from the East Valley as an elementary principal at it says it has a magnet elementary school out there in his world. Our next member is Human Resources Director.
Oh, that would be me, Carolyn Demler, Assistant Superintendent in the Marana Unified School District, and I've been on the committee since 2010. So,
And thank you very much. Our next member is a local governing board member.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Spear. I serve as the Vice President of the Governing Board at Madison Elementary School District. I do not have a teaching background, but I certainly listen to all of the teachers in Madison and beyond. So, and I think I've been serving for 2 years.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. And your position as a governing board member really and truly is crucial because of the perspective that you bring from the public and the communities that we all serve. Thank you. Our next member is a charter school, a county school superintendent. One of our new members.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Tom Tyree. I am the Yuma County Superintendent of Schools and also serve as the president of the Arizona County Superintendents Association. And I think I probably, may be wrong, but am maybe the newest member, and it's a pleasure to serve with you guys. Many years ago, I served as a personnel officer, assistant superintendent in the school district, so I have a little HR background as well.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. And we have our charter school representative.
Good morning, I'm Betsy Farah. I'm the Executive Director of Horizon Honors Schools in Phoenix. And I've been on the committee for a number of years. I don't remember when I joined, but it's been a number of years. So
It was early on, Betsy. You were the second charter representative, and it was around, I'm thinking it might have been around about the time Carolyn joined us. Thank you. And we have two representatives from higher education, and you both have very unique roles. So we'll start with Dr. Horn.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patty Horn, and I think I keep getting recycled. I've been a dean, I've been a teacher, an elementary school teacher, first and second grade, fourth and fifth. I've been an associate dean. I was the first director of the Arizona K-12 Center, and I have the privilege now of being a professor at Northern Arizona University, and it's a pleasure to serve on this board. I remember what it was like without this board. So this advisory committee is very important to the certification process, and I really appreciate the creation of the board and the way that it's operating. So thank all of you.
Thank you, Patty. Next, we have Dr. Lighting.
Yes, I am an assistant dean of education at Arizona Christian University. I don't have the extensive background that Patty has, but I have been a special education teacher, reading specialist, general education teacher. So I spent a lot of time in the schools, and now I get to work with those young adults who are very excited about education. I really have enjoyed being on this board. I've been here 2 to 3 years, something like that. It's been very informative. I love to watch the process, and I'm really glad that it's here because I can tell that it's made a difference in some of the rulings that have gone on. And so I really like the fact that they're reaching out to people who are in the schools to find out, really what's appropriate. And we're watching out for those kids, which is the most important part. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lighting. And I think it's important to note, to remark that the reason why we have two representatives from higher education is because one is from a public university and the other was from a private university. That we have both of those perspectives also represented on this committee. And last but certainly not least, our other newest member of the committee is our public member. At this time, we have one public member, and that is our Dr. Janice Cannell. Angel.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Well, as Kimberly said, I am just a new member this year. I think my first meeting was in February, or right as the world blew up, or right before the world blew up. And I'm very honored to serve on the committee. My background is I have a PhD in special education. I've spent many years teaching and working in juvenile corrections, and worked as a liaison between schools and a large group home organization. I also was an assistant vice president at Arizona State University for about 15 years. I have also been a governing board member for the Phoenix Elementary School District. And I am currently, we took a grant that we had at ASU about 10 years ago, not quite 10 years ago, and spun it off with the help of ASU, to its own entity. So I'm currently serving as the CEO of COI Education. We focus specifically on working with schools on improving school culture and climate. And one small claim to fame I have, I don't know if Patty will remember this, but I was actually a GA, a graduate assistant on a grant she had in the mid-90s with all 3 universities. I don't know if you remember Eruditio, Patty, but
I do.
that was.
I love
And I also, speaking of the Arizona K-12 Center, I am just finishing up my last couple meetings as the chair of the board of the advisory board for the Arizona K-12 Center, or NEU, Arizona K-12 Center.
Well, we are an illustrious company, that is for sure. I'm sorry, Angel.
I just wanted to thank you for letting me be a part of this, and appreciate each and every one of you.
Well, we absolutely appreciate you and all of you. I just cannot express my appreciation enough. So
Don't forget Rob.
Wait, don't forget who?
Rob, the superintendent.
Robbie, did we miss the superintendent? Rob?
I think so.
Chair Peasley, maybe I've been in the wrong place for 3 or 4 years. That's why I wondered what's going on here.
Rob, no, Robbie, my gosh, you've been here for a lot longer than 4 years. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I should have been marking this
Well,
off.
no
Go ahead.
problem at all. My name is Robbie Corporidge. I'm superintendent with the Holbrook Unified School District in Northern Arizona. Been in education. This is my 29th year. Been on this team for I don't know, 3-5 years. I'm not exactly sure, but it's been a great experience. Just being a practitioner in the field, to be able to have some input into what happens with educators I'm from Kansas originally. So, I have that perspective of trying to get certified in a new state, and as well as helping people to get certified within the state. And then of course, the trials and tribulations that we go through with just trying to get enough teachers and educators in the field of education. So it's been a great experience. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with everybody. Chair Peasley, Carolyn, you guys have done a wonderful job leading this team. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I thank you, Robbie, and I thank the committee members for keeping me on track when I sometimes miss items on my paper. I do apologize for that. We also we cannot even forget our support staff. And let's start with Bruce Duplanty from Certification Division. Bruce.
Good morning. So I'm Bruce Duplanty. I'm at the Department of Education. I'm currently the Deputy Associate Superintendent over certification, ed prep program approval, and the newly formed ed recruitment and retention team. Oh, and also the investigative unit. So I get both sides of the issuing and helping that other process. So glad to be here.
Entry and exit. Okay. That's a contradiction in terms, but I'll tell you, thank you. It's a big job, but Bruce, thank you for bringing your professionalism and pulling all the different divisions of the Department of Education together for all those packages that we have to look at. You and your staff do an amazing job. Then we have the gal who does all the logistics behind the scenes and puts everything together when we're meeting in person. She gets us those great Surface tablets, so we're connected and make sure all the phone calls are there. And that is our Melissa. Can you introduce yourself and unmask?
I will try here. Let's see. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa. I'm the executive assistant here with the board. And I've been here for about 3 years, I believe. So I just help whenever I'm needed. And I just want to try and make the meetings go as smoothly as possible for you guys, because I know you guys put a lot of time and effort into things that happen prior to the meeting. So I want to make sure that everything goes smoothly for you all.
Thank you, Melissa. And none of this would be possible without that hard work of Catcher Baden. And Catcher, all that you do, can you just give us a little bit of background about how you support the committee and your role with the state board and the executive director's office?
Yeah, my job is the easiest of everybody on here because I don't have a vote. And Bruce's team really does most of the grunt work on, the background, pulling the number. Every time you guys ask, how many of these certs have we actually issued, or, what do what are the biggest problems? That's Bruce and his team. Melissa, does the hard work of actually the logistics of putting the meeting together, especially when we're virtual. So my job's easiest. I just take all the good things that you guys say and bring in and all the other people, and then I just report that out to the board. So I'm basically just a glorified middleman, but appreciate the opportunity to work with you all. And I love staffing this committee because it's a big committee, and I think the board did a good job of appointing all you guys, very diverse parts of the state and different backgrounds. So it's a great opportunity for me too.
Thank you, Catcher. And I think a little side note on why Catcher is in this role. Until Catcher came on to the state board staff, it was the executive director that facilitated this committee. But Catcher came to the state board and education with a slightly different background. He had been a legislative liaison, and we're working with the state legislature. So because our committee, so much of what we do comes at the direction of the state legislature, that decision was made when Catcher came on to have him be the liaison with our committee from the State Board of Education because of those close ties with the state legislature. So when the legislature is in session, Catcher is there. He's aware of what's happening at the committees. He's aware of the bills, who's doing what, who's looking to support, so that we get those early reports. We get the early warning system. He is our early warning alert system. And so we thank you for that. And that is a little bit more because you're running back and forth there from your offices to the House and to the Senate. And we thank you for all of that you do and putting it all together for us. So thank you very much. Does anybody else have any other general comments? Because if not, we're going to go on to number 4. No, that's the expectations. We have the, I don't see it here, but we're going to go over the open meeting law.
Yes, Madam Chair, it's part of number 4. And I'll be really brief here because I know a lot of you already have experience with open meeting laws, whether it's your own organizations or school boards. I think the big takeaways that I'd like committee members to come away with is you don't have to, all the other stuff with open meeting law, like the minutes and the agenda and the video and the calls to the public, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Staff, we take care of that stuff for you. We make sure it's all posted and we're taking care of and checking all our boxes that we need to. And of course, we set those agendas with the chair and post them online and physically, and we check all those good boxes. I think really the biggest takeaway that I want you all to have here is just a reminder, as always, that these are open meetings, and even though we're in a virtual setting right now and probably will be for the next couple meetings, it seems, these are still being the only access now for the public, because these are virtual meetings, is through the live streams. And so that's why it's really important to make sure that we have these live streams buttoned up and that we're making sure everybody is heard and all that kind of good stuff. So that's always something good to keep in mind. The other big takeaway that I'd like folks to have is that just when we talk about open meeting laws, as I'd mentioned before, gathering feedback from your colleagues on items that are before or had been before the Certification Advisory Committee, that's okay. And in fact, we encourage that. You just have to be careful mostly about talking to one another, especially when that starts to become a quorum. Now, it's a big committee, so I don't know if you, outside of my knowledge, all organize potlucks and talk about things that are on CAC's agenda. If you do, I don't know, you must have a lot of time in your hands and you must really love working on this committee to have potlucks to just talk about CAC items. But please don't do those things. But otherwise, talking to each other is okay. Just, try to be careful not to get to quorum levels, and also be careful to not get too close about talking about things that might lead to eventual action. But certainly talk to people outside, get feedback, talk about what CACs they can try to get feedback from them on what they think we should be doing differently. So those are really just the two big takeaways I want folks to take away from open meeting law. Because CAC is an advisory committee, we don't have to worry about some of the other stuff around executive sessions or contracts or all the other ins and outs, and it doesn't get quite as hairy. So that's all I had on open meeting law, just a reminder that we are a public body and that we have to adhere to those things. And one of my jobs is to make sure that, we try to stay on track on some of that stuff. So that's all I had on that one, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And then I do want to add that when we do gather information from our stakeholders and our groups and our memberships, if we can get that information to Catcher prior to the meeting, that's really helpful, because then he can include that and be sure that it gets out to everyone. There have been some times when there were situations, emergencies occurred, and members could not attend, but because that information had gotten to the executive director in advance, that important feedback was not lost, it was shared. So we could ask for that. So other than that, anybody have any questions about the open meeting law? Supposed to do that every year. Thank you very much. We got this done again. Then the next item is future meeting dates and items for future agendas.
Madam Chair, all I had on this was just a reminder, we meet the first Tuesday of every month. Melissa, I think, was good enough to send out calendar invites for 2021. We'll continue kind of operating how we have been this past year, where I try to give you at least a week heads up. If not, usually if I know we're going to meet, I can give you a little bit longer than a week heads up, excuse me, heads up, but maybe the materials, I try to give at least a week, if not the weekend before. Cancellations are usually at literally the week before. I try to give a little more notice, but sometimes just the way, we're on a knife's edge in terms of if we're ready or not. And those are things that I got to meet with the department and meet with the chair to see if we're ready. And sometimes things come up last minute, but you have those agenda or those calendar invites on your calendar, and that was all I have for future meeting dates. So that means our next one is January 5th. And again, that'll stay virtual until further notice. I think that'll be good.
Okay.
And thank you, Catcher, for letting us know as soon as you do whether there's going to be a meeting or not. It really does help to know if we have that couple hours in our calendar available or not, or so really appreciate that.
There's so much work that everybody does behind the scenes, and it's an amazing blessing that at the work that we do on behalf of the teachers, schools, and professionals and students in the state of Arizona. So if that's all, then I wish everyone a very, very safe, happy holidays. I am so grateful that we get to see all of you, and we haven't lost anybody. Nobody's dropped by the wayside. That's an amazing occurrence and a blessing to all of us. So thank you. Safe holidays, safe travels. This meeting of the Certification Advisory Committee is adjourned. And I don't see a time on my computer. It's somewhere. Oh, yeah, 10:17. Thank you, everybody.